Imran Khan arrested, sentenced to prison, and disqualified from politics. He's called for nationwide protests, saying the verdict is politically motivated. The government adamantly denies that, but now concerns are mounting over whether constitutionally required elections will take place this year. I'm Andrea Sankey, and today's newsmaker is Pakistan. Lawyers for Pakistan's now jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan will be allowed to meet him this week in a high-security prison before filing an appeal against his conviction. Police took Khan from his home in Lahore on Saturday. A court handed him a 3-year prison sentence for corruption. It's a development that could derail his political career, particularly his bid for re-election. Critics say efforts to put Khan behind bars are politically motivated and have intensified ahead of elections due to be held later this year.
This arrest within 5 minutes proves that the match was fixed and managed. What kind of justice system is this? With this system, can we say there is a constitution in this country? Can we say we have a rule of law here and there is no undeclared martial law in our country?
Well, Khan has been at the heart of political turmoil since he was ousted as prime minister in a vote of no confidence last year. His arrest is just the latest development in a series of events that have weakened his political standing after he fell out with the military and his party splintered. After his arrest, he released this pre-recorded video message.
My Pakistanis, by the time this message will reach you, I would have been arrested and will be in jail. My only appeal to you is that you should not stay at home, as I am not doing this struggle for myself. I am doing for my nation, for you, for the future of your children. You don't rise for your rights, you will live the life of slaves. You have to keep up peaceful protests until you get your fundamental rights, and that is the main one, of choosing a government of your choice through voting.
But mass protests have not followed, as many expected. On Sunday, only some of his supporters took to the streets to express their anger at the verdict.
We condemn Imran Khan's arrest. The government violated human rights. They violated the law and justice. We will move forward along with Imran Khan and Pakistan step by step.
You can disqualify Imran Khan from ballots, or the government can remove the bat from the election mark. You can remove or expel all the signs of Imran Khan. But Imran cannot be removed from people's hearts.
It's wrong. Believe me, it's very, very wrong. Why was he arrested? They are continuously talking about the Tushakhana. Why is no one talking about the gifts that were looted from the Tushakhana by the Sharifs and Zardari?
Obviously, the judge is in the best position to make a decision, so he must be right. But Mr. Khan should also have shown some resilience in politics. He started picking fights with people the minute he came to power, trying to corner people and making enemies. He should have shown some flexibility in politics.
So, can Imran Khan fight this judgment and stay in the political fold, or has the persistent legal action against him exhausted his party and his supporters? Well, joining me now to debate that are, from Islamabad, Zubair Umar, a senior leader of the ruling Pakistan Muslim League-Nawaz. Raoof Hasan is the spokesperson for Imran Khan and the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party. And we have lawyer Abdul Moiz Jaferii, who is in Karachi. He is also the host of Nazuk Mor, an online show on Pakistani politics. Thanks all so much for being with me. Let's start then with what we're seeing, or rather not seeing, on the streets right now. Raoof, I'll start with you. Why this contrast now between how Imran Khan's supporters reacted in May versus how they're responding at this moment, in spite of his own calls not to sit by quietly?
Well, first of all, they're not sitting by quietly. Immediately after his arrest, people stepped out in all the 4 provinces and Gilgit-Baltistan. But there's a world of difference. Let me explain it. There's a world of difference between pre-May 9 days and now. Since then, there has been an unleashing of state terror on virtually everyone who stepped out. He's either imprisoned or he's beaten, and his families are targeted. Even people who are protesting outside Pakistan, their families based in Pakistan are being targeted. So there's a world of difference. There's this streak of fascism, which has been unleashed since May 9th. So in a situation like that, where human rights have been strangulated so viciously, I think there is an element of fear. There's this element of fear which is hovering. Consequently, you have seen lesser number of people, but that does not mean that they have not stepped out. Number one. Number two, before his arrest, Chairman Imran Khan had delivered a message, and he said, that there are going to be flash protests. That means small groups of people are going to step out, 30, 40, 50, 100, and they're going to protest for 10, 15 minutes, and then they're going to melt away, simply because we do not want them to be arrested. No, more than 10,000 people are still behind bars. They are workers and party members of PTI. So the strategy is not for massive protest. The strategy is for flash protests. And you've seen that on all the 3 days, since Imran Khan was arrested. And I think gradually, as days pass, you will see more and more people stepping out. We have taken some decisions today in the core committee meeting that was held earlier today. So I think you're going to see that these protests are going to become gradually more regulated, and they're going to also increase in numbers.
Okay, let me turn to Zubair to describe it as a streak of fascism enacted by the government since May 9th. Does that sound fair?
It's pretty unfair. I think Raoof mentioned several aspects of the crackdown and how the response has been from the PTI. One segment of the PTI leaders that he has conveniently did not mention are those who are sitting at their homes or are not ready to come out simply because they realize the magnitude of the actions of May 9th. And why May 9th happened in the first place was because of the policies that were initiated and advanced by Mr. Imran Khan, and they are not ready to share the burden of May 9th anymore. And two major political parties have emerged since after May 9th out of those who decided not to be part of Imran Khan's Tehreek-e-Insaf. One is both are led by his former senior leaders. One since May 9th, very senior leader, Mr. Parvez Khattak in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and the other one is IPP parties. And other than that, there are several other leaders like Asad Umar and others who do not want to be part of this entire process because they understand that it was all a result of miscalculation or a deliberate strategy to target the military installations. I mean, if the anger was against the former army chief, for example, who they thought was responsible for the downfall, what was the anger against the present chief? It doesn't make any sense. Or for that matter, military installations or the Corps Commander House and so on and so forth. So
let me give Moiz a chance to get into the conversation. I mean, Moiz, have Imran Khan's supporters, some of them maybe lost interest, or do you agree more with what some other analysts have said, that they have been, in a sense, beaten into submission, given how many have been arrested and jailed and how many are actually being tried by military courts right now?
I think they absolutely have not lost interest. They might have lost a lot of zeal because they were coming into supporting Imran Khan since 2011 with the establishment either being completely on their side right up until Imran Khan was ousted in April 2022. And then thereafter, the establishment handling them with kid gloves because the establishment wasn't able to pivot as quickly as the political situation pivoted. So there was really a legitimate question in the air when they were protesting up until May 9th as to whether the entire establishment is even on one page with regards to what to do with the PTI. And the PTI historically draws all of its vote bank from the people that also comprise of the heart of the establishment. So this answer came out clearly when they went beyond what the establishment is now calling a red line. And now it is clear for all to see that there will be extreme coercion, whether it be being tried by military officers in military courts as civilians or people, journalists are missing for more than 2 months now. Imran Riaz is a prominent journalist who spoke for the PTI and perhaps wasn't the most unbiased person on air, but he's missing. There's no one knows where he is. In this atmosphere, to use the coming out on the street as a gauge would be fundamentally unfair. I think a more accurate gauge of where the PTI support stands can be made from the Tehsil election yesterday in Peshawar, where the PTI gathered more votes than all the other parties put together, even now. And also, more importantly, in terms of whether the party structure is still intact, you can get that from how many people have returned the tickets that Imran Khan took 10 million rupee donations each to give out. And 95% of those ticket holders are still sitting. They're sitting quietly, but they're still sitting under the PTI umbrella. Now, that points towards there being an understanding that the voter has not moved and he has not lost interest, and far from it. It is almost as if the voter is gearing up for a fight as an underdog. And there is a great romance around Imran Khan being the underdog, and I think this is fueling his popularity. And another way of measuring how everyone knows this is this latest attempt by the government to delay elections unconstitutionally and further beyond the 90-day mandate.
Before you go too far, I want to get to that. It's a very important aspect of that. But let me just return to Raoof quickly, because listening to Moiz, he's feeling that supporters might be gearing up for an even bigger fight, and that maybe right now it is not worth the risk and effort with an appeal set to get underway, which many people seem to think the Supreme Court will not be able to uphold this conviction. So let me ask you the reverse. If it is upheld, then what will happen? Will that be the real fight the supporters are gearing up for? And will we see Pakistan, in a sense, return to chaos on the streets the way we saw in May?
Look, the real fight is going to take place at the time of elections. And this government has been in open defiance of the constitution and the rule of law for the last so many months. The government in Punjab province is illegal and unconstitutional. The government in KP province is illegal and unconstitutional. They have governed with a truncated assembly, which is down to virtually 52% of its stipulated numbers. And they feel no shame, no prick of conscience. They're just going on and on and on about it. Like Moiz has pointed out very correctly, that now they are planning to delay the elections, and I think they will use the alibi of an economic emergency in the country, as well as a couple of other things, that they have. So that is number one. But the real, the people are gearing up, for the elections. And in the most recently held elections, in Peshawar and in Avelia, in Peshawar, in the last outing, we had finished at number 4, and yesterday we won the elections resoundingly with a margin of 9,000 votes. In Avelia, the first and the second candidates both belong to People's Party, PTI. One is an ex-member of PTI who has now said that he will come back to PTI, who won, and the second one, who got 1,000 votes less than the winner, was a PTI nominee. So, this is the way people of Pakistan are going to speak their mind out. They're waiting for the elections. Khan's presence is absolutely, and I would also like to talk about something else, ma'am, which is the conditions under which Khan is being kept.
We'll get to that as well. I just need to, I said, we'll take it one issue at a time. Right. Let me ask Zubair, though, when will we see an actual election? I mean, can it constitutionally be delayed because of this, what some are calling an excuse, for needing another census conducted first, which could, amount to who knows the amount of time? Go ahead.
There was a difficult choice. One was to hold the elections on the basis of the latest census, which was held recently in 2023. The other choice was to hold the elections on the basis of the last census, which were conducted in 2017. I think there was a divided opinion, and in the end, it was agreed, even by those who were initially opposing, like the Pakistan People's Party, that fine, we should hold the elections on the basis of latest census. And as a result of that, obviously, there are certain requirements that the Election Commission has to fulfill. That will delay the elections. There's no doubt about that. Delay the elections by, I think, about 2 months, because the government or the Election Commission had 90 days, in any case, constitutionally, to hold the elections after the dissolution of the assemblies, which is expected day after tomorrow. So the elections could have been held in November, according to the constitution, and my 2 other colleagues would agree to that. The latest census on the basis of which the elections will be held will delay it by another 2 months, which is, again, it will be a matter of opinion. Moiz will have his own point of view. But the best place to resolve this is the courts, whether we are doing anything unconstitutional or not.
Okay.
We have simply implemented that. We have notified that the election should be held on the basis of 2023 census.
Okay, let me get Moiz's opinion then on that. I mean, another court process means more time, more delay. Can that be constitutionally fair, though, in the case that Zubair was arguing?
Look, there is no doubt that the National Assembly elections are supposed to be held within 90 days. This is not Moiz opining as a lawyer. This is the Supreme Court. It said it just 3 days ago, where Justice Munib Akhtar authored the judgment, which is being flouted by this government, where the catchline was democracy demands elections and the Constitution commands elections within 90 days. And it goes on to state that the Election Commission, along with this government, are conflating their duties to the Constitution as some kind of power that they draw from the Constitution. It is not up to the Election Commission to decide to take longer than 90 days because a census has been notified. It is not up to this government to think this is now a necessary process or procedural issue that must be first remedied. Perhaps the greatest duty that the Constitution puts upon a constitutional body, which is the Election Commission, as well as any government outgoing or caretaking, is to hold elections and revert power to the people. It is that duty that is being flouted, and it is clearly being stated as some kind of as subject to some kind of technicality, which is the holding of National Assembly elections as per constituencies made according to the latest census. The court has held that even if it is a duty, that is secondary to the primary imperative, which is to revert power to the people by having an election within the maximum time limit of 90 days. There is no doubt about this, and the creation of doubt is only so that these matters take a longer amount of time to get to and be decided by a Supreme Court, which has been rendered optional by this government and the executive.
Okay. In the meantime, I'll come back to Raoof, as you wanted to address. I mean, if we're looking at more delays for the election, and in the meantime, we have to await the appeal process for Imran Khan, you are very worried about both his mental and physical health, given his age. He's 70 and what he's been through. How severe is that concern?
Well, I will come to that later because our lawyers have finally met him today, and I will describe the conditions under which he's being kept. But two things, Zubair Sahib has talked about going to the court of law. The court of law stipulated, that elections to Punjab Assembly should be held on 14th of May. Has his government complied with the Supreme Court injunction? No. The elections were also to be held for the KP Assembly within a stipulated period of 90 days. Has his government complied with that constitutional stipulation? No. It was also mandatory that the vacant seats in the National Assembly had to be filled by holding by-elections. Has his government held those by-elections to fill up those seats? No. This government has no respect for the Supreme Court. And even if they go to the Supreme Court now, obviously, if the injunction from the Supreme Court is contrary to their wishes, obviously they will once again not comply with it. They have taken a decision to delay the elections. What is sleeping for all these months, about the census thing? That they're reminded of it now? Barely 2 days before their government is to vacate seat? No. So this is all dishonest. They're being grossly dishonest about this. Number one. Number two, our legal team finally met Chairman Imran Khan at Attock Fort today, and their feedback is absolutely appalling. He's being kept in deplorable and dingy conditions in a 9 to 11 foot dark room with barely anything to sleep on, barely anything to sit in. This is the way they are treating the former Prime Minister of the country, chairman of the largest and the most popular political party of the country, an international celebrity who has been held up or who has been punished, through a premeditated hatchet job, rather than following the processes of jurisprudence. This was a premeditated decision, and within about 14 hours of announcing the judgment, that judge has been sent out of the country. He's now in the UK to get training how to be more dishonest about giving his adjudication.
We had that had
So
raised
this
some
is- I'm sorry,
suspicions.
I'm sorry. This is
Can I just add a
blatant
little bit?
lying.
Let me, I want to come back to Abdul, because let me ask you, if Imran Khan is only actually going through what others have before him, or is there something uniquely unjust about his case?
Well, it's not just that. Not only is this has been called karma by journalists here and commentators abroad, because it isn't just a general similarity with what happened only a few years ago. Imran Khan's government put the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in similar appalling conditions in jail on similar trumped-up charges. Imran Khan was the spearhead of putting Shahid Haqqan Abbasi, another former prime minister, in similar appalling conditions without having been convicted of anything during process of trial. For more than a year, Imran Khan put the former finance minister, Miftah Ismail, in the same kind of cell that Mr. Hassan is describing. And not only that, he went abroad to a convention in New York. He claimed it as if it was some form of victory, where he told a congregation of his supporters that I am going to make these people suffer. I will make sure there is no air conditioning in their prisons. I will make sure they cannot just wait this out. So Mr. Khan was out for vengeance in the name of justice. He empowered these same forces that are now being used against him today. It is very wrong today. It is appalling today, as appalling when this project was first started.
Okay, Raoof, and very unfortunately, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. We seem to have lost Zubair, so I would have liked to have come to him for some comment, but hopefully we can get his line back. So Raoof, what do you make of the use of the word karma, if you feel it's appropriate in this case, but this is Imran Khan, in maybe one sense, is reaping what he has sown before.
Well, I don't agree with that at all. As a matter of fact, we have never violated any court injunction. And we've always subscribed to all court injunctions, whenever they were given out. Ours was a constitutional government. Ours was a law-abiding government. We did not violate any of the injunctions, that were issued by the courts of law, various courts of law. So I think drawing a parallel between what happened during our time, PTI's time, and now is absolutely uncalled for. That will not stand the test of time, and that will also not stand the test of truth. All these people, who have been named, who went, they were punished or awarded punishment by courts of law. And they were kept in much better
Can I just
conditions.
Moiz, Moiz, we noticed the eye roll. Go ahead, Moiz.
Look, firstly, these people were not convicted. They were being held pending trial. And it was clear that the government was trying to make it as hard as possible for them to hold out on the strength of their convictions by putting them in miserable conditions. Miftah Ismail and Shahid Haqqan Abbasi were never convicted of anything. They were never convicted for a day, but they spent more than a year behind bars. Also, to try and draw the line of the argument presented at saying, but we listened to the Supreme Court, that doesn't count for anything, because the Supreme Court was much more powerful as an entity back then as it was today, and it was aligned with the PTI government and its larger project. It has never seen a hostile Supreme Court. So that is also not a valid comparison. What is a valid comparison is that Mr. Imran Khan's own allies would come to Parliament to vote on critical bills and say that they have been brought here, indicating that the establishment and the people that Imran Khan chose to run his government through, they would have directly coerced these people into turning up and voting Imran Khan's way. These are not my words. These are the words of allied parties who were ready to ditch Imran Khan the instant the establishment parted ways with him, because they were only there because they were stitched up with Imran Khan by the establishment. And Imran Khan chose to run his government in a manner where, instead of strengthening democratic institutions, instead of attending parliament, instead of creating decisions by consensus, he chose to keep one officer on speed dial and run the entire country through the threat of coercion and fear. And this is what is coming back to haunt him, because those structures, which once weakened, stay weakened. And whilst everything that is happening to Imran Khan is fascistic, it is wrong, it is horrible, it is not due process. But we must remember that the biggest contributor to this situation in Pakistan over the past 5 years is Mr. Imran Khan. He allowed for this to happen. I hope he gets out. I hope he gets justice.
Okay, Moiz, that will have to be the final word. So unfortunately, we're out of time. for this edition of the Newsmakers. Raoof, I apologize for not getting back to you, but the clock is definitely against us. So I'd like to thank our viewers for joining us, of course. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter. Do be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea Sankey. We will see you next time.